folks, they're gonna have to do that.
Liam,
We're live.
Oh, it's already. Oh, it is 10 o'clock. Okay, I got Chris, will be a little late, he sent me a message. It is, Saturday, April 22nd, 10 a.m. We're gonna call this town hall to order. Everyone, please stand for the invocation, pledge of allegiance.
Father in heaven, we're thankful to be here today. Help us that we may have our minds open and our hearts open to the needs of the city. Help us that we may be able to talk with each other and be able to come to some conclusions that will help our city. Father, we are thankful for the privilege of working on the city council, and we ask for thy guidance in all that we do. Please help us be a beneficial meeting to all that are here. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any announcements?
I have one, Jim. Keep West Walking Beautiful will have a yard sale on May 6th in front of Rustic Oaks Mobile Home Park office, and it's gonna be from 8 to 3.
I have one. I would like to thank Keep West Walking Beautiful for the very productive cleanup we had last weekend. There was, all the dumpsters were completely full and we were having to turn people away. Good job.
Thank you. It was our pleasure to help the city get it cleaned up.
Getting there a little bit at a time.
Yeah, Philip Martin, our commissioner, wanted us to announce that they're having a tire roundup in Greenville. And you can call the Greenville Chamber if you need any more information on that. The city will take 25 tires with no rims, but no more than 25 tires from each person.
What day was that?
That's on the 6th.
Where was it, Sam?
It's in Greenville.
It's at the
At the
fairgrounds.
fairgrounds. Thank you. Thank you. Fairgrounds. Farmers Market will be on the 13th of May.
And the Hunt County Fair started yesterday.
This is
Very
right.
good.
I heard
I've
it.
never been to it. I'm gonna go.
How long's that run?
I really don't know.
Couple of weeks, it seems like. I don't know if I remember right.
I think it's a week.
Yeah, I think it's a week. God, I gotta look tomorrow, but
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put out there, I've got my phone on here. If anyone wants to, that's watching, there's only 5 people watching as well, or it shows on here. But if there's any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, text me. I'll give you a minute to get a pen. And then we'll get going on this. Number's 972-979-6772. Like I said, if you got a question or anything, text me. And if you wish, we'll leave your name off of it and we'll just address it that way. I thought what I would do is start off with the financials since it's always a key thing. And then Michael's gonna, here you are. Michael's gonna help me out with the comprehensive plan. He's been studying it quite a bit because a lot of it's relative to him and his job, and I haven't gone all the way through it yet. So he'll help me out with that. do. The budget, I look at it all the time, the profit and loss statement. I'm looking at it all the time. We really look pretty good. To give you an idea of how much we're growing, we're 213% over income for the certificate of occupancies. We're 134% over budget for building permits. We're 79% for new business occupancy permits. So it's growing. If y'all haven't seen them, there's houses in Indian Oaks and down off of Rabbit Cove that are going in. So we've got a lot of new building going on. Hopefully these are affordable houses. I think most of them are in the 250 to 280 price range. Expenditures, I mean, it really looks pretty good. There's nothing that really sticks out there. If anyone wants specifics, I've got it right here. Don't hesitate to speak up and ask me about it. We really look good. I'll let Michael talk on the update on the ARP money, the American Relief Plan, or the Texas Department of Emergency Management, about upgrading our water plant. We're starting late. The parts, the vendor just cannot get the parts, and we're having a hard time with that. If no one, I really don't have anything on the profit and loss to really it really sticks out. It all looks good. We're spending our money wisely. There's probably some areas we could spend a little more. In other areas we could spend a little less, but overall it looks good. Like I say, I look at it all the time. I keep up with it, and it looks pretty good. If anybody's got any questions or anything like that, if you ask a particular individual or whatever, and we'll just take it from there. Anybody? Don't be afraid to go first.
Well, my name's Rick. Actually, I don't know anything about those numbers. I haven't dug deep on that kind of stuff. I was just wondering more upon the lines of, I guess when I start thinking about what I see as a citizen and what I guess my concerns are and what I hear people talking about is really kind of the infrastructure stuff. And I don't know if you're going to get to that later, if that's going to be a topic and have it, but I'm just kind of low. And it's good to hear that things are coming better. But I'm also wondering, when you talk about codes and so forth, I know in Indian Oaks that all these new houses coming in, it appears as if they're coming in with the same problems that already exist in there, which is the storm drains and everything else. I don't see them prepping to do that type of work. I don't know if it's going to be enforced or not, but I know as part of the Indian Oaks boards and the architecture team that's being reformed there, that they're going to be coming to the city council very, very soon with some plans about how we might get some help in getting it done by some shared expenses that probably shouldn't be done on our end. But I'm just wondering about new development, if that's actually being taken care of so that it's not a bigger problem than what already exists. And then
Shannon, you have anything on that?
So the only thing that I have left that I can control there, we control the inspections. Everything is under plan review. All of those houses that are going up currently were approved through your HOA before they were issued permits. And there has to be culverts that go in. So we will require culverts.
But the culverts do tie into the city.
Yes.
I'm just wondering about that part because I don't know if you guys walked it lately. It's a swamp.
Well, all that area where all the new 26 homes are going up, all that area has been a flood area for well over 20 years. So what the builders decided to do was build the plats up 3 feet, which has now caused a different type of drainage issue. The problem is we can control everything around it but that. we can't control how high they build the base for the house. So that seems to be what the issue is as far as the city, is how do we find a way to get our hand on that part? Because by them building up 3 feet, now the water is shedding in a different direction. So that's something we're working on right now, trying to research, because at this point, the city has no control over that specific part, which controls the way the water sheds.
And again, I'm sure this will get ironed out, because I know Indian Oaks is going to be coming officially to be settled as, where do we, tie this in? Because they want to get the roads fixed. I said, not a chance in hell until you fix storm drains, because
Right.
why?
Right.
Right. So we're looking at a more comprehensive plan for our development and kind of going at root cause problems. So, and I just don't know where the handoffs lie. I mean, if you're asking me about the network, I say, where's the DMARC, right?
Right.
Okay. And I don't know where the DMARC is on infrastructure. So just kind of, got to figure that stuff out. And again, I got my hands on too many cakes, and I'm not deep diving enough in any of them. I'm just trying to go and show my concerns where the obvious areas are
Well,
standing
I can
out.
share this with you. For us right now, watching how they're building these houses, it doesn't make sense for us to try to come up with a new way of watershed until they're done. Once they're done, then at that point, we've got to figure out how to shed that water to where it doesn't affect anyone.
Okay, that's actually, I was gonna ask, at what point do they get the final sign off to see, before sale or whatever, and I don't know. Is there that point where a final sign off say, look, you're not tapped into the city the way you are, this is gonna create more problems, it's gonna create.
So far, they're meeting all the city requirements. The issue is that one aspect, and I think as a city, that's something maybe down the line we need to take a look at. But as of right now, the only part of the construction we cannot have an impact on is how high they're building the base to put the house on. And in all reality, this is a new issue for us. We've never really encountered this kind of problem until the past, year and a half, something like that. So right now we're trying to study how the water sheds. For instance, Hilburn and Woodland, those roads are destroyed.
I know,
And we're gonna have to rip them up and rebuild them. With that being said, once we do that, then we can start to look at how to shed the water to the ditch the way it's supposed to and flow the way it's supposed to.
My only thing is, again, it's trying to hold the proper parties, including the city, all responsible for their parts in it. I have concerns because I have spoken to Ramsey, our guy, and trust me, guess what? Those houses should have not been approved. I just got part of the architecture team. I went out and I did a quick 5-minute walk and said, nope, these should never got approved because of HOA rules.
Right.
Is there, again, at what point do we all get together to say that this is the final product? You've taken care of your part, including the roads. They've completely tore up the roads. They even had it blocked for 3 days. Well, luckily I don't drive. I just walk my dogs and I walk around it. But they had it all blocked off, so you couldn't even drive down it.
Right. And the holes on it are the biggest holes we have in this town.
Again, I don't know, and I'm sure there's long. And this stuff will be taken up to HOA or to our HOA and saying, how do we make sure this process is getting filled to when it's done correctly, and we're not creating more problems for the city. We're actually leading a development process to help alleviate.
Well, I can tell you this, like I said, we're researching what we can do, but before we do anything, obviously, I'm going to go to my liaison, who has done a great job helping us come up with plans to fix things, and let him decide what he wants to do and talk to the council about it. So let them figure out how we can go about maybe adding that into our code, whatever, as far as how they build those houses.
Yeah. I guess my last word on this is just making sure that the contractor is responsible for doing everything they're supposed to be doing.
Well, like I said, they're passing every step of their inspections through Bureau Veritas. So, so far they're not failing anything.
No, the house is part of it. Again, I'm just talking about the infrastructure, because that was my main thing I brought up, because we know the town. And again, when I talk about infrastructure, I'm going to say first and foremost, I know everybody that plays a role in that inherited a bad deal. You know what I mean? I know that.
You're 100% correct.
We did.
I know you did. But at the exact same time, I want to be the guy that says, you know what, I understand that, but at the exact same time, who's going to be the person that puts the stick in the mud and says, here's our long-term plan, and we may not make it,
Well, I'll tell you right now.
But you
in
know
my
what,
opinion-
as we don't make it, Lisa's like say why, because the only thing I've been hearing is I got a plan in my head, and that don't sit right with me.
Well, I can tell you right now, it is my opinion, and it's just my opinion.
Uh-huh.
But for the first time since the years I've been here, this council as a whole, Public Works, the police department, we're taking all those things that were laid on the table for us to fix, and we're addressing them one at a time. You know, we could go out there and try to take a piece of each, bite out of each piece of pie, but we've got to start somewhere. And I believe that this council and us, we've started somewhere. So it's
And
going to
again,
take time to
No,
correct
I
all
know
those
that,
issues.
and I appreciate that, especially understanding the mess you guys have inherited, right?
Right.
You know, and I've talked to Jim, and Jim tells me he comes from a corporate world, and unfortunately, my brain kind of thinks that way, and I'm used to seeing information presented in a certain way, right?
Right.
And I'm just wondering how you're layman, you're very easy to go person can look at a simple graph or something and say, this is somewhat the plan. This is when we expect to have it done. If we miss a milestone or whatever it is, this is the reason why. I don't want to have to dig through a bunch of Word documents trying to decipher somebody's narrative on it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Just give me something simple that I can look at and say, hey, we're on track. This is when it's supposed to be done. Here's the financial misses and losses. And, this is when we hope to have it done.
Sure.
And if we miss it, I imagine we probably will, but at least let's have some good business justifiable reasons why.
Well, my last statement I'll make to you would be this. I would ask you that from a public works standpoint, for us, we're a small town, we don't have a massive budget, and we have a small crew. So we have plans to attack many different things in the city. With that being said, our daily activities change in an instant. Someone's drilling a hole for a fence and hits the main. Someone decides that they want to flood their yard with sewer water. So we have all these many different things that arise while we're also still trying to attack that plan. And I will say, for me, this is the most accountability we've ever had to face, because this council holds us accountable, my liaison holds us accountable, the mayor holds us accountable. So they keep us focused on what we need to be doing. So, and I'm talking regular phone calls daily.
Oh, I imagine. And believe it or not, why I may have my complaint here and there, which I think is very legitimate. Surprisingly, I find myself on the other side defending the city because people's expectations are so out of whack. And they don't understand that the city is in a total reactive environment. The problem is there's no proactive strategy that anyone can see that we say this is where we're moving forward to proactively.
And
I
so-
understand everyone's in a reactive state.
Could I answer to that?
But this actually goes a lot to where you're saying, and Kevin, by the way, what you said the last workshop, whatever it was, I was almost 100% on board with. I was doing wrong. I know I kind of came up with it.
So
I didn't understand it, but I love what you said, though.
I'm glad you brought up our reactive state because you're 100% correct. And it sort of like echoes what you said with y'all's HOA, right? I think I've heard you say in the past that there were several things that were either overlooked or just not done correctly. And that's sort of where we're at, what we're dealing with. And the stormwater, we all know, is a big issue. That's been the major issue with all of our roads. That's why our roads don't hold up in our city. For us to think when Michael, the public works director, is saying something about a plan, which I understand how that might be misperceived when we say we have a plan that we're trying to work towards. That plan is not, and I don't want what he's saying to be misperceived, for someone to think that there's some master plan for the drainage within our city, or some master plan for the streets to be almost paved within a certain time frame, because that's not the case. Right now, we're still in a reactive state of trying to figure out how to keep the day-to-day going and then get that plan made, right? Now, with us being a city as small as we are, we're not staffed with engineers within our city. We're not staffed with all these people that we can use within our city that are on our payroll to help develop and make these plans for us to stick by years down the road. That has to go through other firms, which cost more money, which sometimes we can't even do without having council meetings or selecting a person that would actually run that for us. And some of those things can get really, really just confusing. I mean, even if we're gonna get a bond, right, to be able to upgrade the water plant. And it can be it can be something that's basically almost free to us. We can't even select a vendor without there having to be a meeting and selecting somebody to actually handle all that. We can't say, give us 3 bids, you're the best bid, we're gonna take you. That would be really nice, but it's not that way. It takes a 2-month process just to be able to get to the point of starting to accept bids. So I think some of that stuff is what we have to get, and that's why these meetings are important, is so our citizens can understand and know that the processes that are in place, all while we have to all be realistic and get to the point of, right now we have a complete crew within our city if we take out the 2 ladies sitting back there, everybody else in our city is inside of 5 years in their position or way less. And that's including Michael, right? So we have to say, okay, all these people are fairly new in their positions. None of them came from that position at another place that had 15, 20 years experience of knowing how to take care of all these tasks, because if they were, then we'd have to spend 3-4 times as much money as we're paying them, right? So with what you and I are used to, whenever we need somebody to go into a position, we bring somebody in and we start interviewing these people, and we're like, okay, this person has 15 years experience, that's the one we want, because we can bring them in, walk away and let them, they know it all, right? We don't have that benefit. It'd be nice.
I heard you say, Kevin, but to me, it's still kind of this way of thinking of kicking the can down the road. Right?
No.
No, wait. Let me finish, okay? Because we're talking about perspective, right? I'm not saying actuality. I'm talking about perspective. And quite often, perspective is greater than reality.
It's 100% greater than reality.
Well, depends on your point of context and point of view. But again, if we're trying to change the perception, and we're trying to get people on board, we're trying to get people committed to helping and all these other things, you're right. Because I want to go with what you said last week. You want to be able to start changing perspective. Mm-hmm. If the city doesn't start doing things differently, the perspective's not going to change. If that's the city, in my opinion, starts putting some stakes in the ground and saying, we're going to have some milestones here. And we're going to, you know what I mean? And again, we may not make them. And that is, even if it is to put that proactive plan that's not been developed, saying that, you know what? This is the date when we're going to have and shoot for creating that proactive place. We're going to start doing things differently. We're going to stop being this reactionary small city. We're going to start taking the basic project management steps at any project management, the most basic of project management principles, and start applying them. Because that's all these are, is little projects.
And we're doing those in the small things, but you can't expect that to be done if there's inexperience in what is to be done. Does that make sense?
Actually, I could.
Well, then that's foolish in my thoughts, because
Well, I know, and that's the conversation we had in the parking lot back in December.
if you're gonna expect somebody to create milestones and plant a stake in the ground to say you must reach this milestone, and they're gonna be planting a stake and have no clue how to even reach the milestone themselves, then
that's why I said you
hear
create
me
a
out.
milestone to do that discovery to find out how you get there.
Right, but hear me out. And so I had 2 things I made a note of when you were speaking a while ago. And this all goes into play of what I'm saying right now, as far as maybe we have people that aren't experienced enough to make the choice of the plan or the milestone. But that's why Michael and Shannon both, into your point, which is your hot point, and I understand it, it's a lot of ours. It's mine, I promise you. You can ask him and her how many times I have multiple conversations with them about what we're going to do about the drainage in our city. But they have both been talking to a lot bigger places than us, right? These are state-related places, about how do we fix this, right? One of them is the people that control the lake, and one of them is the people who control all the water in the state of Texas. They've been speaking to those people to figure out how do we address this. So that is where a city like us, without having the dollars just to go out and pay an engineering firm to do the work, is we lean on these other resources, and that's what they're doing. And I think these conversations just started happening within the last week to where we actually started making some traction with those two people or those two entities.
Okay.
So there's two things. It's called silt and watershed. Okay.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure when we're talking about, and I know you have conversations as well about all the storm drains, right? But when
I'm
we
talking
say-
to SRA too.
but when we say storm drains, we must make sure we understand. In a city like ours, with the topography that we have, we're not going to have very many storm drains. There's a storm drain by definition is going to be a pipe underground.
Mhm.
Okay, we're gonna have waterways. We're gonna have ditches. We're not going to have a lot of storm drains because of do you know why? The silt.
I don't know what it's called, but is it just simply called surface water management?
So your silt's going to be the problem if we have storm drains. But I want to make sure that when we're all talking about it, we speak about it the right way, because if we don't,
Well, we just did, surface water
Then-
management.
but the only reason why I'm bringing it up is so when we're talking, I'm talking, they're talking, you're talking, any of our guys are talking, any of us are talking, that we talk about it to our citizens in the right way, because if we don't, then we're going to mislead somebody,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, Kevin's point about the storm drains, we only have one neighborhood that really has
Right.
storm drains, and only really one road that has a storm drain. Other than that, it's all waterways for us, which is
Yeah,
ditches.
well,
Our
now,
water
That's what
table's
he's trying to
way
say.
up
Is it
too.
dry?
I mean,
Yeah,
you don't have to go
Okay.
very deep.
which is
to
crazy,
water.
but when they initially designed it, they had to put a storm drain.
but what I'm saying is I don't want people to think that we're going to have a bunch of storm drains, because we would have to be an almost concrete city.
Okay,
Just like,
I agree with you. Terminology is very important, especially in level setting expectations.
right.
So again, I'm fine to use surface water management. Okay, and again, I can't speak about all the places. I just know that when I talk to the people in HOAs, they say they have the same problem. I don't know if they have storm drains or not, but they simply have surface water management issues. Okay, and that's why when I talk to them, they say, we're going to put the funds together. We're going to start, fixing our roads. And like going, well, haven't you been doing that? Yes. Why aren't they lasting? Because of the water. It's like, well, why aren't you fixing the water first then? Okay, it's a simple root cause analysis process that doesn't seem to be taking.
To give you an idea, Rabbit Cove, how long is Rabbit Cove?
It is 2 3/4 miles.
2 3/4 miles. There's 1 foot elevation difference.
Yeah, several years ago, that's why we had to build the road up right there in front of the wastewater plant, 3 feet, because the road would flood and you couldn't get in and out.
It's on a heavy rain now, you're up to your axles on the truck.
Okay. And again, you guys, I'm not trying to put
Well, what's
expectations on people to develop processes that nobody knows how to do or anything like that. I mean, even when I went to go look for this meeting, because I didn't look until yesterday, I saw it on the City of West Walking, but I just went on Facebook real quick, and I couldn't even find it on Facebook, and I hate Facebook. I just wanted to see if it was, if I could find it real quick. The trip started at 10 or 11. I just want to know, because again, going back to this perception thing, because I see a lot of people that really want to help this city. And I really think that a lot of people will get more involved and try to help the city if they felt any type of confidence that things might change, changing that perception, right? And until I see, and it's just my belief that if we don't see a change of the way things are being done, people are not going to change their perceptions. If people aren't willing to take a risk and start saying, you know what, here is a high level plan we're going to try to stick to, not a plan inside my head or buried in a Word document, I don't think it's going to change. Okay, if someone's got a better idea, great, let me hear it. But to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, we haven't even had adopted codes and comprehensive plans and map zones and everything since 2013 or whatever it is. I don't see how anyone's perception is going to change.
That takes engineers and tens of thousands of dollars.
Okay.
to do
Again,
that.
basic project practice starts off in discovery. You can actually say, we're in the discovery process. We're going to move into planning process in 6 months. We're going to take 6 months. We're going to do a discovery. After we have the stuff in discovery, we've accumulated our data. Then we're going to go into planning. I've spoken to Pam briefly on it. I have a different project manager background in her, but she has some very basic concepts of the same stuff for the company she worked for. What'd you call it, Pam?
I work for University Medical Center of Arkansas.
And what was the project management acronym you used?
What we did, we had set up the telemedicine program for the state of Arkansas. So each hospital in the state of Arkansas had a way that we actually could see a patient and connect them to the correct doctor that would help them with whatever the problem was. We're known nationwide for our stroke program, is one of the things that was on the telemedicine program. So that we connected by television to each hospital in Arkansas and was able to also be able to connect that doctor that was treating that patient with the doctor in the university medical system to be able to see that patient, to see what needs to be done next for that patient. Whether it was a transfer or whether they could take the patient at their own hospital and treat them according to the way the specialist wanted them treated.
What I was more looking for was, you had mentioned an acronym for the way you guys worked projects. And typically, my days were Agile, Waterfall, you know, now the new one out, Scrum.
Well,
And again, you wouldn't have to do that. If you just do a Google search on the basic project life cycle, they're divided up into five different categories. And it's very, you can look at it in 10 minutes and have a basic idea of what this stuff's about. In 10 minutes, you really could.
yeah, well, for a city like ours, we need to do a SWOT analysis and a pedestal,
Okay.
which are acronyms that mean you look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats to your progress first. And you then analyze those. And then you do a pedestal to create the plan that how you're going to work those problems. We did the same thing at the EDC. This is our 5-year plan for our EDC that we have developed over several weeks. And now we have a plan for what we're going to do in the EDC and how we're going to do it. So we have a 5-year goal here. Attract new business, help current businesses thrive, drive innovation, accessibility to knowledge, sustain economic organization. And once we develop that, then we have how we're going to do each one of those things over the next 5 years.
So I guess, and again, that's great. And it actually sounds like a principle that you apply to each stage of the project management life cycle, right?
Yeah.
Because that's more detailed already, making sure you're getting your checks and balances in each phase. And again, guys, I'm not saying that I know what's right for this type of environment, okay? I come from a completely different type of environment, and I'm trying to figure it out.
Well,
Okay,
you may have
but
been,
maybe, I think it really might be beneficial, because really where we're at right now, or at least where you guys are at, is a state of management and governance, right?
right, and
So-
you may have been there, but the mayor set a workshop for the city council, I guess some 3 months ago or so, where, well, I don't know, where are we at? Calendar here.
It just seems like it would behoove somebody to come in and do a quick lesson or a quick help directional on how to form some of these high level plans and put it in a way that the
So I
city,
guess it's been
the city could use
been
and have it
5
be
months.
beneficial to them.
The
I think it'd be
mayor,
pretty cost effective.
The mayor said-
Next week.
no. What I'm saying is, the mayor set a meeting, I guess sometime in October or November, for us to have a workshop as a council to try to start doing some of the stuff you were just talking about and what she was just talking about. But it wasn't famous for all the council. So it was kind of a flop, right? And we just haven't gotten back to that. And I think that's where we're probably gonna have to search within ourselves on our council and try to figure out how to unite and get together, because we'll never be able to make any of these plans or any of these decisions work or move forward until we can get that part of it
You
flowing.
gotta have some structure.
I
You see what I'm saying though?
Yeah. No,
But
I
we
hear
tried,
you.
but we tried, there was tried to be a meeting for us to start working through those things, figure out what we haven't done, what we need to do, and make a plan to move forward. But it just didn't work. It wasn't seen to be important by the council.
Because
I
really
don't
what I'm
think it
talking
was
about is,
that. I think it
Go ahead.
was more that, the time was not a good time. I was there at that meeting. But I think it was just not a good time for the other people on the council, so I don't want to point fingers at anyone there.
Well,
I
I'm just
think-
saying.
I think- That for us to actually make a plan, we're going to have some citizen involvement in it. And it's going to have to be something that we look at our weaknesses and we actually own them.
Right, that's why you
And-
do it in a workshop,
Yeah.
because you can have your citizens.
Right, and I think we need to do a SWOT analysis. I think that's the first step with it is most major cities do SWOT analysis all the time.
Mhm.
So maybe that's where we need to start, was trying to look at the SWOT analysis and go from there. Like I said, it's helped us with the EDC to kind of make a plan. I think we need to get our citizens involved in that and trying to get them there. I think that if we have a independent moderator with the SWOT analysis, it's always much better. And that then we get input from our citizens and what they're seeing and what they want us to do. And it actually sets goals that are outside of us. And I recognize that sometimes those goals are hard and that they create some tension between the entities of the city on trying to get those things done. But we need to hear those too. Mary?
I just want to say, we're citizens here on this road. You've got 2 rows of empty chairs up here. Where are the other citizens? Because we need to get the word out more effectively to get these seats filled with people. And I'm kind of disappointed that we're the only ones here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mary. I really think that is one of the big problems we have in our city right now is the communication to our citizens. And it
not
needs
only
to be
that,
addressed better.
our Keep West Walkeny Beautiful, we would like to have citizens come to that and have input there as well. And our meetings are always open to the general public, and we never turn anyone away, and they always have an opportunity to speak. So we just had our meeting Thursday, and Leon was there, and our new member here, Jane, was there. And we would just like to have more citizens come to our meetings as well.
I feel the same way
I don't
about
know
the
how else
EDC.
to get the
We would
word
love
out.
that.
Yeah, I feel the same way about the EDC. I would
Yeah.
love for them to come see what we're doing,
Yes.
what we're trying to work for.
COVID really, because we used to have big city council meetings. I mean, it'd be packed house before we added on inside the courtroom inside there. It was always a packed house. And ever since COVID, I mean, we've had an empty house a lot of times, and it just doesn't seem like it's recovered from that. But I'd love to see citizens in there. I think we'd all love that.
But Mr. Red, the reason why I said something about that workshop is I feel like, me personally, I feel like that set us 5 months behind for sure. Of trying to make the plans that you're wanting us to make. I mean, you've got it, like you said, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And we.
At the root of it, yes.
Yes, sir. And unfortunately, we never.
Well, don't give up.
We
Well,
haven't, why don't you or Michael talk about the plan that we made last year for the roads this year? Because that's a huge one for us.
Let me talk about this workshop that he's talking about.
Uh-huh.
Every time we have a meeting, there was no reason for him to go to that workshop and bring that up. He's just pointing fingers at the ones that weren't able to make the meeting and saying that we're set 5 months behind because of that. Last week or whenever it was, we just had a workshop and all y'all did was bash the EDC and the fire department and they weren't even on the agenda. So the reason it's not working together is in between me and Pam.
Well, I think what he's getting at, we had a workshop to talk about the successes that we'd had over the last year, 2 years, whatever, and there was no participation. It was like it was called a campaign thing, and it wasn't a campaign thing at all. And we had to, I think it's important for a council or any group of people to review successes and what are the successes and how can we apply those successes to future plans. And that one that he's talking about, there was little to no involvement, even on the successes that we had. So I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with it, but
Well, the reason why I brought it up is it was said in that meeting that there was no important scene for the workshop to be had. That was said, maybe not exact words, but somewhere along those lines. And that's the reason, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Leon, but I only brought it up to Mr. Brett because he said all the perception is we're doing the same things over and over again. And I was trying to explain that that's not what the intention, or that's not what's been trying to be done, because that is the truth. It's not. And there's, I mean, you can go back and look at records as far as agendas and minutes and all that to see that there was some things trying to be done. There's just no traction.
Well, and the other main reason is the council is not kept in the loop of what's going on. We can't all spend 34 hours a week at the city hall. And I know you can't call every council member every time something happens and fill them in, but there should be some type of weekly letter that goes out through the secretary that she can send out to all the council members and tell them what's going on all week. That way we know what's going on. Citizen, I don't know that y'all had a water main broke over here on, Rabbit Cove or things like that, or people asking questions.
or we might revert back to 2 or 3 years ago, whenever I used to get phone calls from councilmen.
Well, if that's what you want, but if you don't have time to call me every day, I certainly don't have time to call you.
It's a lot easier for me to take a call than it is for me to sit down. And make
Okay,
calls.
well, you'll start getting them every day.
Well, no, I mean, so just hearing that little bit right there, I mean, it actually surprises me that the city council doesn't get a weekly update of what's going on in the city.
We don't, never do.
Well, why?
Only until
I
that
mean, that's-
packet
again,
comes on
that's a
Thursday
base-
do we
that's
know
a
what's
very
happening.
basic process.
So tell me what you think that would need to look like.
Was that would keep people updated. You
No,
would
no,
also
no.
have a paper trail of what's being done.
Tell me what you think that would need to look like.
What as far as the agenda items? Okay, well, I mean,
No, because you don't have an agenda every week.
okay, well, I'm just saying you can. Well, okay, for any business, you would have a simple amount, or business or nonprofit or anything. You would have different weekly items identified, whatever those are, that would be captured every single week. If a part of it was city infrastructure, then you'd have city infrastructure, pipe road, city council meetings, next upcoming. Where are we at with developing plans? Because I got about 6 different plans I can think about off the top of my head. I don't know if they should be merged into one off the basic comprehensive plan, but it's six different plans that should be working at. Where are we at with them?
So on a weekly basis, I mean, do we think realistically, do we all really think that we're going to have something on a weekly basis change significantly enough?
I don't know.
That
But
it's
if it's not being done at least monthly, that's
It,
probably.
well, it is being done monthly. We all find out monthly. We have a meeting monthly. We've never missed a meeting that I know of in the last couple of years for sure. I mean, maybe COVID was the last time we had some meetings missed, but I mean,
I would love to see something that just tells me like what's going on with the water department as far as us getting things fixed. That would be great.
And I can say, just as a citizen, I think infrastructure is the biggest one.
right, but
I would like to
get
see,
that.
I would like to
in
know
our
if a pipe breaks somewhere so that I know what's going on with that. Or if we're having any other difficulties with any other problem in the city, I would like to know.
Unless it's
Yeah.
a break that takes a very long time to fix, what what information is that good for anybody?
I don't even know if one takes a long time to fix. I never hear
I'm not
anything.
sure, if the reactive stuff would help a lot, but I mean,
I
the
mean,
proactive stuff sure would.
Yeah,
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 I just don't know.
and I think,
I
yeah,
don't know if a pipe leak or a pipe
Yeah, no, I hear
break
you.
is,
Well, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that
But that's a level of detail you guys gotta figure out.
Well,
Yeah. you two know everything that goes on, because y'all are there every day, talking to each other every day. And we got a mayor pro tem sitting over there that's not included in anything,
and
and
you're,
doesn't know anything.
you're incorrect on that, sir.
Well-
There's sometimes it just so happens that he or myself might be, and there's a lot of time, I think all of you people in the city seen me maybe twice this week, right? Maybe,
Well, maybe this week.
Well, that's what I'm
In the
saying,
past,
but it
you've
comes-
always sat here
but
and
it
said,
comes
I
and
spend
goes.
34 hours a week. in
Here's
the
one
city.
thing I wanna say on the
I've heard
record.
it 20 times.
Right, and I'm saying this as a citizen, not saying this as a councilman. What I would like to see our city council do is to drop the feelings, right? Because the feelings came out a while ago. Let's drop the feelings and let's be professional as business people, right? Business is business. Feelings are for personal stuff. This is not personal. Let's drop the feelings and do business. Because in business, if you've ever been in a leadership position, you can choose somebody out right now about something they did. And then an hour later, they're still working for you. You don't walk by each other ready to just like stab them in the eye. And this is all figuratively speaking. But I'm asking that as a council, and this is as a citizen asking, that we would drop our feelings and work together as business people, because that's not what we're doing. That's all I'm asking us to do
But you're the one that's bringing this stuff up.
as business, sir. As business.
Well, you brought
I-
it. This is
I mean,
business
and it's
right here.
okay, Leon, to bring up the counter argument to a statement,
Mr.
but you
Ritt,
can also tell when his feelings involved. I get it. Me
Mr.
too.
Ritt, I had no
Me too.
feelings when I explained to you that we were trying to do
I get
something,
it.
correct?
I get it.
I
But
was
if
trying-
he's got a counterpoint, it's fine to point it out.
are we gonna sit
It
down?
is.
I think that's a very great idea to do that. I think that is something that we all need to consider. We all need to work at. But when we point fingers, we need to point them at ourselves also.
When you point a finger at somebody, you got 3 pointing at yourself.
That's right.
So I'm
And I think that we need to drop what's happened in the past and go for the future.
and
When we dwell on what happens in the past, then it tends to slow us down to doing anything in the future. And so I'm with you on, let's get the feelings out of it. Let's move forward. Let's just keep working. The deal is, this is the city we're working for. We're not working for
Exactly.
ourselves.
Exactly.
Alan?
I would add public media, the websites, the internet, the messages that I see. A lot of them are very derogatory, and I don't think there's any professionalism in that. And I think we all should work on that.
What? I don't understand what you're talking about.
Derogatory comments made on
Where?
social media.
Oh, okay.
They can't really control that. But
I'm not talking about controlling the citizens. You can't control usins. You can't control y'alls.
That's
Is
why I
my
don't
point.
comment on social media. I've had some very bad things said about me on social media. And because my name wasn't mentioned, I wasn't talking about you. But anybody that knows the situation knows exactly who they're talking about. I
We
did-
don't need
I
to
did
air
receive
our
an
dirty laundry
apology.
in public.
And it was taken down off the original page, but it's still out there on other pages.
to bring up something, trust me, guys, I've been working in technology since '91, and I hate social media. Okay? I just
I do
straight up, okay? But understanding that that is a platform for most people where they go to get their information, okay? You know, that is the world we live in. Is,
Unfortunately.
yeah, well, it is what it is, but, you know, use the tools at hand, right? It's, you know, I don't know why, because again, I went to West Walkeny to look for this meeting and I couldn't find it. So I posted it, and then this morning I went to see if anyone replied to it or if anyone's gonna show up, and I couldn't even find it. I couldn't find my own post, but maybe I just don't know how to use Facebook that well, which is fine by
Did
me.
you look on the website?
What's that? No, I found it on the city of West Walkeny, but I don't know how many people go there. I know people use Facebook. So, I mean, I don't know if it behoove the city to have a Facebook page, okay? To where, you know, and don't allow replies. This is not a spot for negotiation or discussion. These meetings are. But this could be a way for you guys to post up information that needs to be posted and updated that way.
I'm not sure we can do that.
I don't
The
know.
state laws prevent that for,
Okay.
for
Well,
for
a private
public
citizen could.
expositions or whatever. So there's some big rules there that we can't do that.
Well, maybe one of the citizens can, and they can actually fulfill that. And I'm not saying me, but you know, you get out there, and again, not to have this a place for discussion, mixing it up with sales and all this stuff, but just have the city information broadcast.
And, you know, one thing I discovered, we did, you know, this meet and greet with the EDC, and we spoke about it for months and months at every meeting that we went to. And then the last week before the meeting, we put out flyers to businesses, you know, and every one of them said, well, I wish I'd known about this earlier. So the thing I have realized from that little instance was that people aren't always on that social media looking at it and finding out things or listening to our council meetings
Yeah, it's
or
all a hit.
listening to
It's all
our
hit or
other business.
miss, right?
Yeah, it
It's- It's a hit or miss.
So I think for our communication, we're gonna have to look at some other form to try to get some of this information out. So I would propose that maybe the next time we have a town hall meeting, maybe we put out some posters or something, just some flyers, something that would kind of bring that to our citizens a little bit better.
It's gonna be a game.
It is, you know, it doesn't
Some you
matter
win, some
what
you
you do.
lose.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you do. There's always
It's-
gonna be someone that's not quite there with you.
Yeah, it'll be a game.
But we're gonna have to look at things differently than we have in the past, is whatever I discovered with that meet and greet. We did have a good turnout, but we could have had a lot better turnout if we would have looked at it as something different way to run.
And that or Kim, if, like what she's talking about, we could put something like a message out on Iris and for things like that, right? So
That's a
maybe,
good idea.
so maybe we need
Great
to,
idea, Kevin.
maybe we need to
Maybe
use,
the phone messages you get about water main breakages
Oh.
and weather, enclosures and
and that may be
I think
one
that's a
we,
great idea.
and that may be
That's a
one we
great
forget, that may be one we forget about because we try to only use it when we have water breaks or there's something,
Emergencies.
yeah, there's something,
Give them a call, see if they'll do that.
so
They'll
I
do
just-
that.
Remember,
maybe we
there's
could utilize that
There's
tool a little
only a
bit more.
certain amount of space. If it's anything longer than, I think it's 300 characters.
Yeah, it's very limited in what you can
Yeah,
say.
we
But you
should
can
be able,
say town hall meeting.
yeah, we should
such
be able to word,
such time,
Looking for
date.
citizens input.
we should be able to word something down easy
Yeah,
enough, but.
very easy.
But maybe
That's
that's
a great
one
idea.
thing we gotta keep in our mind, that maybe we use a tool like that.
That's
I
a
think that's a
excellent
great
idea.
idea.
It really is.
And
Good
we
job.
probably need to push that one out a little bit more and get more people to sign up.
That's all we do.
When the mayor comes
How many
back,
people got
we
listed?
have a guest today, Jeff Irwin from the school, from Quinlan ISD superintendent, is here, and I'm sure he came to talk about the bond election.
I don't want to interrupt anything.
Well, come and speak.
I was gonna say, let's
Yeah,
sit
yeah,
before we
yeah.
continue down our rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Only with you guys' permission. I don't want to interrupt.
You go for it.
No, you're
All right.
fine.
All right, we've got a no tax rate increase bond. I hope you've heard about it, but, similar, I hear people that say, well, we didn't know. So we've tried to get the word out as best we can. So let me tell you Somebody wants to put me on a timer, I'll try to keep it to 2 minutes. So what we've got, what we've listened to, we put together a facilities committee, and they come up with these projects right here. And I presented it to the school board, and the school board said that's exactly what we need to do. So the way this works, this is the ballot language. If you wish to vote for the bond, it's for. If you vote against, it's against. You don't want it, you vote for it, against. You're going to see this language right here. This is a property tax increase. That is accurate if you're going up on the tax rate. It's misleading. I'm not saying it's false. It's misleading if you're not going up on the tax rate. So what I'm telling you, whether the bond passes or fails, you're not going to see 1 penny increase or 1 penny decrease in what you're going to pay, because we don't control appraisals. We all know what's been happening to appraisals. They continue to increase. So we tell people, if you're over 65, make sure you applied for and got the exemption. The first thing here is safety. And I didn't bring my work keys in, but I'll use this demonstration. I got about 12 keys on my key ring. So if something goes down at the school, we got to have about 12 to 15 set of keys at school that have 12 keys on them to pass out for first responders to be able to go and get in any room. And they're going to have to figure out what key goes to what. What we're wanting to propose, what we're doing first and foremost is switching out about 1,200 locks, including padlocks, and it'll go to something that this opens. So this can be programmed for a teacher to get in the front door, in her classroom, in any other room she needs. It'll be programmed for police to get in every door within the building. And we'll have several of these at each campus ready to go in the event something goes down. So you don't have anything that happens at Uvalde with people trying to find keys and what key goes to what. We'll also apply tent. We're building to the windows, impact resistant tent. And then we're going to also build some fences behind Cannon. And then you get into our transportation facility that needs overhaul. What will happen to the old one is a good question. It's going to be repurposed into a maintenance barn. What's going to happen to the little maintenance barn is over behind technology. Technology is going to take that over. So everything's going to be repurposed. And then you get into deferred maintenance. This goes into some of the air conditioning units are original to Thompson Middle School. They've not been replaced. And we keep patching them, and some of them are about C or 8. They're not energy efficient. And they go out and we're patching them. And then the other thing are roofs. Roofs on average, a school roof will last about 20 years. And we got a lot of leaks. So we're trying to patch that. And then finally, we are out of room at Ford High School. And we want our kids to graduate one of 3 things, either college ready, career ready, or military ready. One of those 3 things. And we've got a lot going into the military. So I'm very proud of the young men and women that represent us that are going into the armed forces. We want to be able to add our programming, HVAC, plumbing, some type of building trades, maybe some type of newer technology that's out there, because you see things coming down. So we don't have an empty classroom at Ford to add these things. So we're going to have to add on. Ford High School was built prior to Princeton High School, if you've ever driven over there. Same architect. Ford High School has 5 phases of being added onto. We're still in phase 1. Princeton's probably in all 5
Yes.
of where they could add. But the growth that may or may not be coming, we want to be prepared. We're not building these things because we're expecting a lot of growth. We're building these things because we don't have room right now. And we did add at no expense to taxpayers. I saved about 5 years, school board and us, to build an addition behind Butler Intermediate because they were out of rooms. We were running about 27, 28 kiddos in each of our science classrooms because we didn't have the room to put any more students. So now those numbers have come down to about 22. And I think we filled them all up. We've got 3 rooms left that are open. So that'll carry us a while. Cannon's out of room. There's a plan for that. I can explain that if you wish. We do have the old Joe Martin building that we can repurpose and make that a pre-K building until such time that the growth requires us to build another school, whether that's 5 years, 20 years, I don't know. You know, so I'm not trying to do anything, but what I'm going to tell you, it's a 30-year note. The tax rate, the INS will stay the same. It will not go up. And what I'm going to show you, our tax rate's gone down every year. So you're not going to see an increase as a result of that. So if you'll turn this over and look right here at this column right here. And I'm pointing to the very last right here. And I didn't bring my reading glasses in, but I've done this enough. I've probably got it memorized. Right now, if you're looking where I'm pointing, we're paying $1.04. Last year, you paid $1.06. Prior year to that, you paid $1.08. Prior year to that, you paid $1.16. Prior year to that, you paid $1.24. See the pattern? We dropped it 20 cents in the last 4 years. It's 20 cents. So this works. What we're asking for is to keep the INS rate the same, and it authorizes us to go out and borrow money and repay that over time and complete all these projects that we've listed. So I'll open that up to questions or get out of your city council meeting, whatever you want me to do. But I appreciate you coming and letting me do this.
Quick question, because it sounded like there's some confusion on the way that's worded if you want to vote for it. If you're, okay, so, here it is. So
Yes.
if you're for making these improvements, you're for the bond?
Correct. And I will say right now, there are 2 bills proposed. Lozano has one. I hope to change this language because I know it's been misleading if you're going out for a no tax rate increase. Now, if you're going out for a tax rate increase, this is true. But if it's a no tax rate increase, what they're going to say in the future, the bond proposal, one of them says this allows the district to take on additional debt. Because that's what we're doing. We're borrowing money. We'll have to pay it back. But it does, we've got capacity because we paid off a bond last year. And we've got 10 years of the 30 years left on the bond that built Butler. So we paid off 20 years of that. So any other questions? I appreciate y'all letting me crash your party. I'm sorry.
No,
That's the way it works.
I want to make sure that we add that if anybody does have any questions, that they can feel free to contact you guys at the administration office anytime. And I know there's been some people that have came up and y'all have actually went, maybe showed them some of these areas, and that's something y'all are willing to do. If
Right.
anybody has questions, go by the administration office, and if they want to go see something, I know you guys will go show them.
Absolutely.
So I want everybody to get involved with this because, hey, our kids are our future.
It needs to be done. Yeah, Blake.
I actually have a question about transportation because I live here in the city, and in the past months, my kids have either been left behind because the bus was too full, and they went to school and got in trouble for being tardy and all of the above, and I get to work early in the morning.
Right.
And I just want to know if there's going to be any more added transportation for the kids because I can't always be there to take my kids to school, and
Yes.
I'm worried about that.
First off, I
My 5-year-old
apologize.
got dropped off at the highway.
No, we want them to be safe. So here's the dilemma we're facing. We pay our bus, we look at our bus driver salaries compared to the surrounding areas, and we're very competitive. And we want to keep paying bus drivers, so we're always looking for bus drivers. The problem is right now we're 8 short. And that is devastating to a school because that means 8 buses of kiddos are going to get to school late every day. They're going to miss most of first period. So this transportation facility has a training room built in it, similar to this right here, that we hope to be able to bring and train new bus drivers to drive. And then because right now we've got to go to Red Oak, we've got to go to Canton, we've got to go to Garland. We want to be able to do that on site and then hopefully recruit and keep more bus drivers so that we never have children that are late.
That's very good because that's the biggest challenge right now is getting people licensed.
Yes.
Because it's been made so tough. I mean, it's tough just to renew your license.
Yes.
So, but the CDL stuff has gotten really tough.
It's a good job for a retiree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you work a few hours in the morning and a couple hours in the afternoon.
We'll let you pick your hours.
Benefits are,
That's what I plan on doing when I retire.
don't you still have,
You get
medical?
full insurance. You
Serious.
drive
I still got
around
my
in the morning,
license,
around
so
the
that's
afternoon.
Yeah,
Full
it's
insurance.
a good gig, so,
But I appreciate you. I know you got, we want to make sure, I think this is the third time we've been to something out here to make sure that we're trying to get the word out. I did notice, I look at Quinlan, it's 1,100 on the city population. I passed your sign up here, you're 1,500, so you're larger, and you guys are, a big part of our district. And a lot of kiddos come from this area and go to school. So I'm available by phone. Hire my assistants. If you have concerns, questions, just continue to address them to us. If we can't answer them, we'll get you to the right person that can. But hopefully we can get something with the transportation to where we could get training and recruit more drivers to drive for us and keep them, because we never, ever want children to get to school late because we don't have enough bus drivers. And if you know someone that would want a part-time job or is eligible, they have to get their CDL, have to get an S endorsement through the school, and that's gotten pretty tough recently. They tried, they make you open the hood, and we're never going to have a bus driver replace a belt on the road. We'll send another bus out to do that, but you got to train them that way. So, any other questions? Well, I'm headed to another location. So,
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming.
thank y'all very much. I appreciate your time.
Be safe. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Sure.
where were we?
I think you left Kevin, Catherine, Kevin had a really good idea about using Iris to notify some of these things that were going on in the city, like we had town hall meetings. Which was a really good idea.
And maybe what we need to do is come up with a simple little checklist when we're having meetings. We're checking off.
You need to be careful not to overuse it because people are tired.
Well, right, they may get used to it. What I'm saying is that's only gonna be a monthly thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like our council meetings, it's just once a month. But I don't think we've been using it. I don't know. And
I can make a suggestion for your town hall if you're gonna continue to have it here. Kim went down to Vital Signs and she had some really nice signs made. If y'all saw what was over here by the dollar store and down at Billy Joe's for the cleanup. And so they were not that expensive. They got people's attention. I think the signs had a lot to do with our success at the cleanup.
Yeah.
So y'all might want to invest in a sign that says town hall meeting today or something like that and put it out front. That might help to bring people.
Yes, sir.
simple yards.
Jim, I had the opportunity to visit with you last week, and I was unaware that the city had obtained a contract with somebody to start working on addressing some of the streets. I was just wondering if you could give an update on that, or if somebody in this room could, or maybe the plan.
I didn't hear the road, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it, and these two know more. Michael knows.
Just an update on what our
He
progress
deals
on the
with-
roads are
yeah.
with our contractor.
Well, we got started about 3 weeks ago. And of course, we chose to start right when it was going to rain sporadically. And looking at this week, this coming week, we had planned on doing roads all week. Well, they're calling for rain all week. But right now, what we're doing is spending 6 weeks on rock roads. And as soon as we can get into May to where the lowest temperature is around 60 to 70, then we're going to start doing all the oil sand roads. So one thing we're doing different now than we've ever done is we've just thrown on it never holds up. So we actually, as a city, contracted someone who's a professional, who's really good. And he comes out and now he builds up the roads.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah,
Mike, so everybody can hear
I'll use Johnson as an example. If you've ever been down Johnson, it has been a just atrocious road. And
Yes.
what he did is he went in with some flex base, built it up, and then crowned it with some crushed concrete. That road is night and day different now. Sandy Lynn, same thing. We threw down some flex space, but now we got to go in there and actually build that road up, clean out the ditches, and crown it. So, last year we sat down and kind of came up with this plan where over the next 5 years, we would try to transform the rock roads into Olsen roads. I mean, that's kind of the goal, right? To get away from all the rock and all that stuff. So we got to start by rebuilding a lot of roads that just were not maintained for forever. What's your road?
Park, Friendship,
Okay.
right off the road.
So you saw we were down there, last week, I think it was, or maybe it was the week before. We were down there doing those roads. So what we're hoping to do down there is like Friendship, the goal is to Olsen that road all the way around. But if you remember last summer, we put, I think, 8 loads of rock just to build it back up. So we're thinking Friendship needs another 2 or 3 loads of rock to finish building it up. And then we would like to, if we can this year, it'd be great. If not, it'll be next summer to get that road Olsen.
Are
So
you
we-
Troy?
We have a plan.
Are you Troy?
Yes.
Okay. We haven't
Yeah,
met before.
And to add to Michael's, there was a conversation this week that I think in the middle of May, because we're fixing to go into budget workshops
Yes.
pretty soon with the city. So in the middle of the May, he's gonna sit down with the contractor to get next year's plan in place as far as what we're gonna be able to do within our budget, right? But yeah, I mean, it's, I guess 40 years worth of neglect.
Yeah, it's a long time.
But let's just all be honest, right? There's no reason to hide that. 40 years worth of neglect within our city, all over the city in different areas of whatever, right? Whether it be water, sewer, roads, whatever, trees.
Well, our not to interrupt you, Kevin, our main focus really was this year to try to rebuild these rock roads, build them right so that in the future we can come back
Yes,
and change them.
and here's the thing, this is gonna be the first time the city's ever done anything sort of like this. So it's kind of uncharted waters, right? So there's some learning curve in there, and then there's definitely some under budget, right? I mean, we had no idea which things went up to. Just the delivery itself, so.
But one of the points that I was wanting to make is, again, I wasn't aware of this. Doesn't mean anything, but I'm curious on how many other people weren't aware that the city actually has a plan and they're trying to do something to their roads, trying to address them. But I don't know how much that information was out there. And I think it'd be beneficial if the citizens knew
Yeah,
that.
there's
We
Y'all
can
are
help
good
with that
way
by
to
putting
hit
something on our,
everybody.
You know,
Yeah.
on our Facebook page. But last year when we went through the budget workshops, we had, several council meetings where we actually talked about this and what the plan was going to be. So maybe, one thing I can do better is to get it on our page because we have a public works page so that people can see what's, what roads we're working on.
And what I'll say to you on this is, as far as, I think when we all hear plans, I mean, it's when I hear a plan, I think there's a, it's not the case. Let's be realistic. A road is a road, and you can look at a road and go, that's what needs to be done. But here's the problem. If we had a plan that was like that, saying for roads, now changing up and when we're talking about drainage and all that, now that will have to be like that because we're going to have engineering elevations, all this stuff. But the road plan right now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get these roads to a state that they've never even been attempted to be at. So for us to say that there's a plan like a piece of paper like that, and if we were to put that out on the internet or that out on Facebook, and we were to say, okay, let's just say this road is going to be number 1, and it ends up being number 5, then we all know what's going to happen there.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the reason why we need to all be understanding that just if we did do a list like that and this road was number 1, well, by the time that all the rains quit and materials were available or tractors or trucks were not broken down, And we actually got to make it out to start our plan with number one, and we go, okay, number one don't look that bad. We're gonna have to go to number 8. Well, guess what? Everybody lives on number one. We all know what's fixing to happen.
And you know what? Who cares?
So,
Because if you got a good reason for doing it, you got a good reason for doing it,
But-
you stand by it.
but
Right, and that was what we had talked about. I don't need to know a schedule. I don't need
Yeah.
to know what day somebody's gonna come by and fix
Right.
my road. Just the fact that I know that the city has a plan, some kind of a plan. They've hired somebody and they're gonna address it within, what'd you say, 3 or 6 months is you had those contractors for?
I think 3 months. is-
Yeah, then I'm fine. I mean,
12
I'm thrilled to
weeks.
death.
12 weeks, isn't it?
And I think some of the other citizens might be, because it's just,
12 weeks worth of work.
yeah, it just gets so negative to see people bashing about the roads.
Yeah.
Everybody knows we got road problems, but just to let somebody
Internet's
know
one way to
this.
do it. Not everybody's on internet. How do you get it out to them? To mail out, you're looking at upwards of Annette, Kim helped me out, $800 or something to mail out to all the citizens.
But I think,
When we do our CCR, it costs about $600.
Okay, 600.
Printing and the postage.
Yeah.
Postage, the
Save the
postage.
trees.
roads are a big focus,
Really?
but
I hate that.
going to be a small impact. And that's clearly going to be because of money, right? That's not a very big budget line item that the city has in the budget. So as far as a yearly impact, it's going to be small. None of us are going to see it on a huge scale. That's going to take a period of years before it ever changes. What's that?
What are y'all gonna do to raise some money to fix the roads?
Well, it takes time. You have to do it over a period of time. You know, we can't do it all in 1 year, but we can do it over 5.
And then
Your road, I went down there yesterday and it looks pretty good, but we still got to come in and lay the top layer and put a crown in the middle of it.
which was going
So
to
that
be
it'll
done this
drain
next
off the
week. If
side, but
there's no way.
I was surprised though, that it is right now.
Well,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but within that 5-year plan, and I think Mike's got a pretty good handle on this stuff. I think this, what Mike's head somehow needs to get out there to the people and put on paper. And again, if stuff gets missed and you go from road 8 to road 1, stand by your decision of why that was made. And people are going, I think your vast majority of sensible people are going to understand that. And who cares about the chatter of the people that are going to bitch all the time anyways?
You know what I would like for our citizens and our town to do, our city to do, is once we start getting some of this work done, maybe we'll establish a little bit of faith in them.
Right.
And we won't have to have all this micromanaging is what I'm
Well,
seeing.
again, too, and there's a difference.
And seriously, I mean,
No.
what we're all thinking about is adding more tasks, right? And if you only have so many people and you're wanting to add more tasks to those people, right? I think in public works there's only one laptop,
Okay. Again,
so
but if you're talking about return on investment, right? What's the amount of time you're putting in something for the value observed, right? And if we're talking about changing perception, talking about getting people involved and getting their input, maybe even their work, because we can go into about another thing that should be talked about, which is all these roads, right? And whenever we talk about roads or infrastructure, I mean, aren't we all at the same time talking about surface water? We're talking about roads, we're talking about water, and we're talking about sewage, all together. Because I don't think if they're all being addressed together, we're probably not doing it right.
Sewage would be separate.
Sewage would be separate? Okay. So, but again, so if you're tackling kind of one, you're kind of tackling 3 at the
Yeah.
same time, right?
Well, that's true. If you're tackling the road, you're tackling the ditches as well. Yes.
Okay. And I think, and that's really going to be our best benefit of saving money is if we're doing it correct from the start.
Now, I'll tell you this, Kevin he's on me about always making sure that not only we're not going out there just trying to throw something on it to appease anyone, that we're going out there with a plan. We know what all needs to be done and that we execute that plan. And there's some areas where I can tell you we need to do better. But with that being said, that's his main focus for us is constantly, did you do the ditch work? Are you doing the road work? Are you looking at all aspects of it? Or are you just looking at this one piece?
Right.
So,
And I think also, and again, that term plan, right? I mean, the term plan to Mike, he's probably got 100 tasks within
Right.
that, right? But the public only needs to see 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And say, this is what we're working to at this high a level.
Most people have absolutely no idea what all we really do.
Oh.
They just know that we hit potholes here and there, or we might fix a sewer break or a lift station's down. They don't truly really understand what it takes to support the infrastructure, but I think you're right. There's 2 or 3 things that they really do care about, and there needs to be a way that we can get that information out there.
Debbie?
One thing real quick,
Oh,
I don't
sorry.
want to
Hang
forget
on.
this, is that I know Indian Oaks is working on stuff. I talked to Scott's fire department, who part of Arrowhead and so forth, and I know they want to do something like, so we've got all these different communities that realize the state of affairs and knows that the city does not have the money to do it. So they're willing to put in funds to help get it done. But again, where I'm raising my hand is, let's get it done if we're going to put it in, but let's do it right. You know what I mean? Let's not just go out and start patching roads and so forth, because it ain't going to last, because this other stuff is, being done. And, and yes, I can Google it for 15 minutes and get the high level stuff what's been done, but I've never done it. I don't know.
Right.
Except for when I served some time in jail and had to go patch roads, but.
Debbie?
So if you go to turn on to Shenandoah, you can't turn right. You have to look to see if a car's coming. You have to turn into the wrong lane. It's been that way for several years. I've always used the parking lot of the empty liquor store. But now there's a business there, so I have to do that. I called and tried to get it fixed. If somebody could address that with the proper department, whoever handles that, it would be nice.
You seen the roads not wide enough?
No,
But
she's
the
talking about the
hole-
entranceway. That's TxDOT. TxDOT has 10 feet off the edge of the shoulder. So she's talking about where TxDOT hasn't come out and filled their holes. And the issue that we have as a city is once the city touches it, TxDOT will never touch it again. So the phone call really needs to be to TxDOT to come out and repair that entranceway.
I talked to somebody and they told me that they're only due 5 foot. And they were gonna send some men out to look at it. Whether they did or not, I have no idea.
Right.
But also, I appreciate the rock that y'all have done on Shenandoah, but you're ignoring the slight ditch that we had, and you pushed dirt and mud with clods this big that now have weeds growing out of it. I'm old now. I have to weed eat. I can't mow it. It's in the road really, but it gets this tall.
And
So-
they're coming back for that stuff.
Yeah,
It's
we're
just
not,
that
we're
the
not
rain
done
hit
at all.
the wrong time.
We still have to put a whole nother layer of rock down the middle. As far as the ditch work, what we did is we looked at the original width of the road, and the grass and the dirt had worked its way 6 feet out onto the road on both sides of the road, which is why the road was so narrow down there. So what we had to do was reclaim the road. We got the water to flow. That was the main problem, was let's get the water to flow correctly. Let's get it to shed. Well, it does that. So then we brought out our first layer of rock, our flex base, to build it up. Now we're coming back with crushed concrete. We're going to take our ditch bucket and right at that edge where it looks rough and it's a little ugly, we're going to bevel it down, smooth it out, and make it look pretty.
Okay, when y'all come back, could you scoop up that hunk of mud that's this deep that when it does rain, it turns to mud again? It's right there at my driveway.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
The reason I come up here is I was listening to y'all and I got mad. Y'all are not working together as a team. I don't think, that's my opinion. I don't think city council is working together as a team. That's why nothing gets done. And let me just say that the new building that y'all bought, y'all should set examples and not let the weeds be hip high like they are around that building. It should already been mowed and taken care of. Just look at the road. That's why people drive by here and go, "Whew, what a city." Y'all should be setting examples. I'm done. I just had to come up here and tell you, West Walkeny is doing a great job.
Thank you, Debbie.
And they do good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Okay, what else? Anything else?
Okay, what, I think most of what we talked about, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to, speak on behalf of Keep West Walkeny Beautiful. We did a ride around the city, on the, north side of 276 last Saturday after our cleanup. We were looking for yards of the month. And we have selected one and we're going to be awarding that soon. However, in riding around the city, we saw so many dilapidated houses, places that were abandoned for years that need to be tore down. I understand Sanitation Solutions will allow some tear downs each year. I just was wondering what is being done about code enforcing these derelict buildings, even the businesses along 276 that are abandoned. What is being done in that regard to get rid of these substandard houses and mobile homes and businesses?
Shannon?
So we just actually redid our ordinance.
Okay.
We were in the process of doing one and turned out our ordinance was actually not any good. So our attorney rewrote the ordinance. We've got it approved now. I have a stack this tall of files that all of my notices come back on. We have to have good notice to proceed.
Right.
Now, notice goes out two ways. Well, okay, three, because some of them I hand deliver, people don't have a mailbox. It has to go out certified, it has to go out regular. If both the regular and the certified come back to me, it's not good service. If the regular or the certified, one of them does not come back to me, then I still have good service.
Are you sending to the address on the
I have to
CAD
send
or?
it to the address on CAD. And then if there is a water account there, I send it to the tenant also.
Good.
But I have to send it to who's on CAD first and foremost.
Okay.
The problem is with a lot of these houses that are abandoned, I think the people are deceased, which then means we have to go down a long trail of doing a title search, which is very expensive. And we have a lot. Now we have had, I want to say 4 or 5 demolished where I send them a notice and say, hey, y'all got to do something. Like this is city code. You're not up to it. You either got to repair it or you got to take it down. We've had, I think, 4 or 5 come down in the past 2 months.
What about the one next to Tin Cup?
What, 35 foot?
Anthony Vaughn,
Anthony Long.
No, the house that belongs to people that associate with the American Legion. Her name is Robin somebody.
Is it on the left or the right?
It's right next to Tin Cup.
You're talking about on the right side.
Yes, the right side. It's a house sitting back in there in the
Yeah.
weeds and
Oh,
Falling
it's a
down.
little white, like a little old, I mean,
Yeah.
No.
But
you
it's-
said
no,
house
it's a
built
big-
in-
It's a green.
it's a pretty good
I thought it was
sized
white.
property.
Probably built in the
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an old house.
yeah.
You-
And it's,
You may not be able to see it real good right now because the trees have gotten back green.
yeah.
But
But yeah,
in the
it's
fall,
hidden back
in the fall,
there.
you could
Yeah.
see, in the fall, you could see it. It's between Tin Cup and
In a vacant lot.
west.
If you're looking.
So it's west of Tin Cup.
Yeah, going
Yes.
towards Circle K, yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, and it's been like that for years,
Yeah.
years and years.
It's probably a 60s house, I would think. Maybe.
We could actually use more people.
Well, I know they live up in East Walkeny, the people that own it.
okay.
Mary, when y'all go around and you're looking at that, do y'all take down addresses and things like that?
Well, we should have, but we did not. We were looking for pretty yards.
Yeah.
I got you.
So we were writing those down, but, anyway, we probably should have done so, but a lot of those buildings, wouldn't have an address on them. Or they didn't have a mailbox and different things like that,
Well, I
but,
bet she got a file on it.
oh,
I mean, it just-
okay.
I mean, she really does.
Well, I mean, we drove every street, didn't we
We
not,
did.
Kim?
We did.
We did. We went up and down every street,
We did.
all the way from Camp Caddo, all the way down to basically Rainbow.
And to add to what y'all did this past weekend, I've said it before, if there's a property that's had a notice of violation or a citation that is because of junk in the yard, I'll waive the fee for them to go dump it at the dumpsters. That's the way the city can help out.
That's great.
So, we're not putting all the burden on.
And
them.
I also do have a thing in the office where I've set up, people can put business cards in there. So we do have people who have dropped cards off that haul away junk, that do mowing, things like that. It's not something I hand out like, hey, the city is supporting this
Yeah,
person
sure.
or this person. They're just welcome to put a business card in there. You can come in and get one.
So do you have anything scheduled for demolish
We do not yet.
for this year or anything?
We don't. We have a few we're working on.
Well, the ordinance has to be approved. It hasn't been completely passed by council, has it?
Have we done the second reading on that
I
one?
think so.
I don't think so.
No, we
I don't
haven't.
think so. We still have to do another reading.
Our last ordinance was
It wasn't
not
correct. It wasn't, that wasn't right.
right, yeah.
And we probably did a couple, the one right behind here, with the bad ordinances. We just got lucky and no one said anything.
Now Shannon, you had, I think in the past month or so, 2 months, didn't you have like 4 demolition permits?
4 or 5,
Is
yeah.
that right?
We've had quite a
So
few.
there's been some
And
things get.
So I can
that's
tell
gotten
you-
taken down.
in Hales Retreat, we had a house
Yeah, I saw that.
and a garage come down.
Yes, I saw that.
On Cove, we had a house come down and get replaced. I have another one that's just been issued on Lone Eagle where they're gonna demolish a garage. They're gonna remodel the house and build a whole new garage, because this garage actually has grass growing on the roof. There's another one, I can't remember where it is, but I know there was another one that I issued where they tore it down. So people are actually, I mean, they're coming and getting their permits, they're doing
Well,
stuff to
thank you
improve
very
the
much for what you
property.
do. You're welcome.
And then what,
Appreciate it.
remind me what Wanda talked about on that home grant.
Oh.
There's a process that they go through. You can't do it all the time. And she said it's really hard to get now, but we have been sent some paperwork to review to see what we can do. Because in the past, the city built we had 4 homes that were built. And those homes, the people have to upkeep their taxes. They have to have the upkeep on the houses. And, you know, that's a requirement. They build them from ground up.
Well, they'll tear down any other existing building too.
In fact, they tore down, it was a mobile home in Rabbit Cove, one of those that they removed it and built, you know, a house with foundation, everything.
Is that like Habitat for Humanity or something?
No, it's a home grant.
Okay.
And they do have to meet specific requirements, you know, their income, that's.
Yeah, their taxes have to be paid. There's several requirements that
The house
have
has
to,
to
have
be
to
paid
be
for
met.
too.
There's-
Well, Texas Council of Governments also has people that will come and help elderly or mainly the elderly to put new windows in, help them with a roof and things of that nature at no cost to the homeowner. So that is another source that people could use if they knew about it.
Yeah. Anything else, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so without getting into more bullet items, which I have 4 that haven't been covered yet, because I think we're still talking about the most important stuff. Right now, what action items does the council have to take away from what we've heard? What action items do you guys got?
My first one's gonna be communication to the citizens.
Okay, which is what I call transparency, and I've been bringing that up since December, and I haven't seen anything done. Just want to put that down for the record, okay? Because same old, same old, same old.
Can
Okay, I want to hear a stick in the mud. What
Can
are
I
you gonna
ask you
start
to
doing?
correct yourself? And have you looked at our new website?
I have.
So that's nothing to you?
Okay, well, first and foremost, that website, okay, since you brought up the website actually came up about 3 months after I was told it was going to be done. And yes, it's still not that informative. Okay, different opinion, but again, because I'm actually going back into that next layer of plans, right? Everyone can say, and again, I don't think if people are looking for detailed plans, they just want to know that there's some kind of structure with some type of schedule at a very high level, say we're moving forward.
I just think you're missing the point that I was trying to actually make, sir, is when you use the word nothing, to me, nothing is
Little,
nothing.
okay, I'll retract it and say little, in my opinion.
That's all I'm saying is if we can try to be giving on both sides, right?
Okay, well, look, I just did. Okay, I said I'll retract it and say in my opinion,
Yes, sir.
little's been done, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, because again, I just don't want this to be one of these things where people just keep coming and just talking about things. Okay, to me, it's about it's the same thing I say to my 17-year-old son all the time: show me, don't tell me. Show me, don't tell me. And we got a lot bigger problems with what's going on in West Tawakoni in this country.
So the second thing for me is for us to make sure we're continuing to talk to the two entities that are going to help us with our drainage water within our city, because that is something, it's going to play a little bit of a role in what we're doing with our roads this year, but it's going to play a bigger piece into our role, what we'll be doing with roads next year.
Okay. And before this meeting's over, I would actually like to hear from Mike on the city council on some of the good things that have happened, because I don't think we focused on anything good. And I think there probably is some opportunity there to let us know what good has been happening. Because what I've been hearing since I moved here is
All the negatives.
all the negatives, but I also keep hearing from the leadership and the governance is we got a good plan, we got the right people,
So-
we are getting things done. I would like to hear what
Some of the good things that have happened is our upgrade on our water plant has started to take place. We've got, I think, 9 valves in place, or 7 or 9 valves that are in place now. Most of the piping is already all ran. Some of the wiring is ran. Michael's actually working with a firm right now on a grant. I guess, are they running with your list now? Michael's working with a firm on a grant right now that hopefully we would get approved for that would take our water plant to even another level. We would be able to make some huge outside upgrades and interface with the new infrastructure that is taking place now. Our SCADA system.
Also working with another firm for the park to get a grant for the park that it's quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
And if this goes through and it pans out, the state of Texas will recognize the park. Most people don't know city parks, not every city park is recognized by the state. So if you want to have a state recognized city park, you got to meet all these different things, do all these different things. It's got to be a destination for people to go. But I'm hoping we can pull that one off because that's a big deal.
Yeah, we're also working with a community development block grant, people right now, and I think Kim and Annette's been working hard on that.
Yeah.
And that's gonna help us, get all 4 filters.
It'll bring filter 4 on. So some of our fears
That's the
are,
one I was talking about.
some of our fears are at the rate that we're growing all of a sudden, that if we don't hurry up and bring filter 4 online, then we're going to run into some issues. So if we can, and we can upgrade our headworks with the right pumps, do a filter media rehab because the media is 12 years old. So there are certain things that if this goes through, our plant will, in essence, be brand new again. And it'll be able to serve 3 times the people. So there's a lot of really good stuff going on right now. So I'm sorry,
It
Kevin.
was a
go ahead.
30-year plant built when, Annette?
Well, it was built in 2010, right? Or 2012.
But with that being said, Michael did mention something about our filter media being 12 years old.
No, when the plant was built.
Another very good thing that has
Don't hear
happened,
them on.
and we have to do this every year, we have to go through a conversion, a water conversion. It's just part of the process.
It might have been 2009.
I want to give our water operator, I want to give him some kudos. He's been busting his tail to get this conversion to happen and go through. And his name's Kevin.
Jennings. Raise your hand, Kevin. There you go.
I want to give Kevin kudos because he's been busting his tail and the crews, because there's no way he can do all the flushing by himself. He's had to have some help from the crews too to help him flush. But I think this has probably been the best result since I know it's been the best result since I've been on council.
I hate to admit it, and it hurts my heart to say this.
Say it.
He's gotten a better conversion than I ever got. And to me, I've made the smartest sounds ever had.
So that's what I thought, but I wasn't gonna say it because I didn't know it.
Now I'm gonna have to hurt
But
him.
now I know it, so Kevin, kudos. But seriously, and I want to say this because we've had some areas within our city that we've had just forever troubles for him to get what they call residual,
Yeah.
okay? The proper residual. And we've had some areas within our city, since I've been prone to the knowledge of our city water system, it's just never been achievable. And I'm gonna say the number one problem area, and I'm not gonna call the area out because it's not right, but he's had an area it's just never been achievable. He achieved it in that area, that it's just not ever been done.
Well, we're now at 100%.
So
yeah.
I'm just saying, that has been a very big accomplishment this year, for that conversion to happen as well as it did. And really, very, very little problems.
We're coming-
Almost
Coming to the
unproblematic.
end of the conversion
Yeah.
now.
And so, I want to make sure that was one of the things that was shared.
And I think the city needs to hear stuff like this too.
Well, I'll even go as far as to,
It was put out there.
even bring up
Again, I didn't even know.
the rest of the
I tried to pay attention.
crew. The rest of our crew, everyone now, and this is something that as a city in the past, we didn't always do this, but now we require it, right? So even the state says that your guys in your public works department have to be licensed, sometime after their first year. Every guy in this room now has been to a class except for one, and he's still kind of new. So we kind of make sure they make it through the first 6 months, but they're all going to classes. They're all getting their license. They're all getting certified. So you're going to have a city with a public works department for the first time everywhere. Everyone is certified through the state and all of it.
It's a-
That's good.
Isn't everybody but 2 people live in the city?
Yes,
So our whole crew, except for 2 people, live in the city.
three now.
3, okay.
3 people. Louis left.
Hopefully that gets them a raise.
Well, I'll say this: when you
Called you out,
That's a
Louis.
first.
when you have guys who live in the city, their level of pride and I know this because I lived in West Walkeny. I loved it. The park was my main focus, and when they live here, they care. They care. So when they read certain things, the negativity and stuff like that, kind of kicks them in the pants, stings a little bit, but it makes them go out there and work a little harder too. So, I don't know.
And Mike, I know it's a lot and it's risky.
Yeah.
And risk sucks. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm bad. I am personally bad in that way to where I'm not risk adverse, which causes me problems in my life.
Right.
Okay. But I understand the way it is out there in the rest of the world. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
at least for most people. So I do get it. And I think I talked to you about 6 months ago, and you had in your head a good plan for what I thought for the city park. And city park's another thing in here I didn't want to, because I wanted to let all this infrastructure talk go on because I think it is the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
But I would like to hear what's going on with the park, what the vision is. What's the vision for the city?
Well, we
Yeah.
actually submitted
talked
that
about-
at the council meeting.
Okay. Well, again, but where does the person, again, I don't even like Facebook, but if I knew I could go out and get that information on Facebook,
Yeah.
instead of trying to dig it up and here's the thing too, Facebook's a lot easier to post information to than having somebody redo your website.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a lot more flexible. It's a lot more less time consuming about getting these smaller tasks done. It's what he talks about. And again, no one's looking. And as a project manager, they call me a John Wayne style project manager because I don't really like processes. I like getting shit done.
Right.
You know what I mean? With the most efficient way possible. And so, I understand that. But again, I think no matter what, this topic keeps coming up that there's a big disconnect to what Public Works, the city council, what the city of West Walkeny is doing and what the people perceive it to be doing.
Sure.
So we just got to cross that bridge. And again, I never wanted to come here and say, this is the way you got to do it. I'm still not trying to say this is the way you want to do it. I'm just saying
Right.
that the problem exists and nobody's taking care of anything up.
Well, if I could jump in there real quick just to address the park. So we put together a 5-year plan. So the issues that we've been waiting on were equipment issues, things along those lines. This past winter, we kind of missed the boat. That's when we're supposed to do most of our tree clearing. Well, we have the equipment to do it now. And it was actually donated to us. So, there's lessons that had to be learned along the way, especially for me. I'm still learning hard lessons. You know, when we're sitting down and writing a budget, we're thinking about all the things that are gonna take place in the next year. It's easy to miss that you're gonna need a skid steer that's got a mulcher on it that can take down an 8-inch tree. You know, it's easy to miss that detail. So with that being said, we now have some equipment that will help us start with the ugly part of the process, right? You don't see the pretty part of it until you clear out the trees, all the underbrush, thin it out, build your paths. You know, then you start adding all the neat amenities to the park. So we're not quite to that place yet. So for me, this year has really got to be the clean it up, keep it clean, keep it maintained, and then we can start focusing on the amenities next year.
And again, this is one of the things, how does the public know this, right? And,
Right.
and more importantly, because this, I remember talking to Jim about this too, we should be using opportunities like this, and yes, we don't have a very good crowd, and hopefully as time goes on, it'll grow,
Yeah.
is how can people help us get to where that vision is? You know what I mean? Because, we can't rely on the same 20 people that have their hats in all these different little groups, you know what I mean? This town's full of a bunch of people, and I bet you they'd be willing to step up if they knew there was a role that they could help out and add value.
To me, you just touched on the most important part. See, from our perspective, seeing community involvement is a huge deal. So if you can find a way to get more of your community involved, instead of the same people who are wearing themselves out with all these different groups trying to do the best they can, add more people to help lighten that load and get them involved. That's really, to me, where the key's at.
And again, I think the root of that too is still getting back to that perception problem that Kevin spoke of. And again, so one of the action items I would say, what is our transport for changing perception? I would take that away as an action item. I would also take away as an action item is there seems to be, we understand there's a lot of complexity in some of the things that need to be done. Who are we going to go to help from a high level, at least get the drop downs of where we do have to start digging out to more expertise? Who's going to help us understand this at a high level? Because it doesn't sound like people understand that. And again, just talking about that one time we had, I think it was Veritas come out and talk to PMZ, and that's what I pointed, to where I basically said, based upon what I learned today, I cannot say yes to any variance. I just simply can't ethically. I can't say yes. I can abstain and I can say no, but I can't say yes based upon what I learned here today. It seems to me that you guys need to have something like that. And again, I don't say I know local politics. Obviously, I don't.
The majority of the answer to variances is no.
What's that?
Yeah. I mean, that's the primary answer.
I just went this with our HOA too, and they just defined variances as a want, which I now have to battle them on.
Yeah, it's totally opposite.
And again, I know we're running out of time, so again,
I'd like to add that there's a lot of new businesses in our town, or several, and it would, for community involvement, it would help if everybody would shop there to keep these businesses alive, where we can hold on to.
Fish and nutrition is real good.
We have the nutrition, yes, that's very
It's
good.
really good.
Then they did put in a bait shop down here.
Yes, Fish and Shack, I think it's called.
Fishing store.
We also have a new hair salon at Penny Mart.
Yes, that was the other thing I was gonna mention.
The
Next door to
RV
Penny Mart,
center
we
was
need
taken
hair.
over by new people.
And the only way these businesses will stay here is if we shop at them.
Dale's
You
obviously
can't
has
expect
fairly
everybody
new
coming down the
owners.
highway to stop and shop at them. That's just extra business for them. We gotta support them ourselves.
Right.
And if you can buy your gas in our city, that helps.
Yes.
And, if it's anything, if you can get it here, don't go to Clinton.
John, what have you got for us? Give us a little update. What's been going on? Any drug bust or any tickets? What do you, what's your guys got going?
Is there a big?
I know that you're working on a lot of cases, whereas I can remember not too many years ago, we had no cases. We had no cases at the DA. Now he spends a lot of investigative time putting cases together. One case is 2 years old or a year old. The one at Lovely happened a year and a half. A year and a half, yeah. So that's one that finally made it to the DA. And no fault of yours. But, anything you can update us on or what you got? Oh, there was a big, drug bust. I don't know how big of a drug bust. There was a drug bust on Navajo Trail yesterday. Yesterday or day before?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. And while I'm on that subject, I read an article Terry Jones or the Hunt County Sheriff had out yesterday afternoon, I believe, maybe last night. They picked up a subject and he was very combative in the backseat of the car. They had to stop 2 or 3 times, once to shackle his legs and everything. He was kicking the windows. And Terry Jones stopped and got in the back of the car with him and rode to the hospital. I believe it was the hospital. It's unbelievable for a sheriff to get out and get back with him to contain somebody like that. But anything else?
I'm a new guy, Lavender. So far this month, has made 14 drug arrests.
14 drug arrests.
Very good.
Right. While we're on the subject of the police and all that, the middle lane out there is not for passing. It's not for passing.
Yeah, there's been a lot showing up on Facebook for early in the mornings.
Yeah,
I see them every day.
yeah.
Slinging rocks.
Cracking windshield.
I guess it's people going to work in the morning.
I wish DOT would come sweep that.
They need to
but
do
get
that.
them to do that.
We talked about reaching out to them and saying, hey, when are you gonna come clean this up?
Yeah, and the
Because it's
more,
it's hit 2 of my windshields.
I've got 4 chunks in mine, in one windshield, 3 in one day.
And this is personal vehicles.
Yeah.
City vehicles, it happens to them too.
The more people that can contact DOT and complain about it,
Text up.
or text dot, the better, because it'll make them notice more.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
And I think this is the worst
Anything else,
road job
guys?
I've ever seen.
Can you just get real quickly on the comprehensive plan, what the high level, what that includes?
Michael?
Well, this is not a
Yeah,
comprehensive
that's
plan.
not.
This was a study done for our city that covers every single
Oh.
aspect from planning and development to EDC, P&Z, streets, drainage, water, sewer, collections, distribution, future plans, parks, everything. Everything that the city needed to progress forward is in this book. This is where I go to get everything.
I think that's the same book that was referenced by the Dartmouth gentleman.
About what?
Now we have
It might be, but there was,
We
there was.
have a
Rewritten and adopted.
a comprehensive plan. The problem is locating it.
And I thought that at one point, Robin had asked for that because she was gonna try to make it digitized or something. And this was 2 or 3 years ago.
Actually, Robin mentioned to me about a month, maybe 3 weeks, or right after the last workshop meeting. And she said she had a paper copy of one. I said, well, paper copies for me.
Well, no, that's all we had. That's all the
Right.
city.
Well,
that's
I know,
all-
and I offered, I said, you know what, if I can, I think the fire department's got a good scanner and that I can run it through and that I can OCR it and I can try to get it to a somewhat digital copy. to
The
be
one,
usable.
the one she has, I can't remember how many years ago it was done. It was done by some college students.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And it's, I haven't looked at
It's
it.
about 20 years old.
It's probably 20 years old.
But the Veritas guy, he did make it, and I don't know why, I don't know what happened to P&Z and I don't know why no one's responding to anything or Bill and so forth. I don't know what's going on there. I know we didn't have a meeting last time either, but, Veritas did offer, I think it was 3,000, maybe 3,500 to get the comprehensive plan done in the way and in the format that it's supposed to be done.
Right, if we gave them the one that we had,
Right.
yes, we talked, yeah. we
Right,
had
but
that
we gotta get
conversation.
And update. Yeah, so-
Plan or the,
We're supposed to have that.
But it sounds like out of all the plans, we need to get that one done first, because I don't know who's in charge of business plan, infrastructure plan, all that, but until you got the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
I don't know what to put
That
that
used to be our go-to also.
Take from somewhere else and do what you said for us and then.
Yeah, maybe we can get that plan, Mary.
Before we leave, could y'all address the restrooms at the park?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, I just talked to him again yesterday. We have hired a company, Team Texas, to come in and fix the restrooms. He's ordered the parts and then turned it into a non-electric but manually operated so that we don't have problems. When I talked to him yesterday, he said that he was waiting on parts to come in and that by what he had, it would be 11 days when he got parts. And that it would only take him 2 days to install the parts once he gets them. So we're talking about 2 weeks should be finished.
I was just wondering if they would be finished by the next Markdown Lake.
It's close. 2
Close.
weeks is close. I don't know. They're probably not. We do have some porta potties out there
Porta-potties.
right now.
And they do come and clean those weekly.
Yes, and they are.
Yeah, they'll be there until the bathrooms are.
Yeah, and but the EDC is paying for the bathrooms to be cleaned and fixed and the whole thing. So
Does the EDC also have open meetings like this?
I'm sorry.
Does the EDC also have open meetings?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. We're the first Monday of the month from 6:30 to whenever, and we love people to go.
You know, just off the top of my head, it kind of sounds like the EDC might be able to take up some of the functions we've talked about that the city council can't do because of legal reasons.
We have heavy restrictions on what we can do.
You as well.
Also, but there are some things that we can do, to help around the city.
But it keeps my.
When you
it
ask
keeps
a
vibrating,
question about it,
keeps
does
getting
EDC have meetings like this? But they don't have like in a town hall type thing. They have their regular scheduled EDC meeting the first Monday. And you can talk, put in, citizens input and things like that. You still have, similar to a council meeting.
Well, I'm
But
just
not
curious-
like this.
I'm just curious to how do all these different, and again, some of us are very obscure, like, Market on the Lake and Keep Walking to Beautiful. I just think there's if there was a lot more synergy between these groups, a lot more could be getting done. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. This is a high level perspective of me just learning about this stuff. But one thing I do want to bring up to Mike real quickly is that, again, I know that there's different HOAs willing to invest their own money on starting to fix their neighborhoods, but they can't afford it, especially if they want to do it right and they want to tie back into the system correctly, that I know they're going to have to, and especially if instead of doing it one HOA at a time, if everyone can invest in a bigger plan, I'm sure we could probably save some.
Well, Mr. Schultz and Arrowhead came to me and said, Mike, we want to, as a neighborhood, contribute this amount of money. And, what can we do? How can we do this? And I said, well, we can use our carrier to bring the rock. We can do the work if we're willing to provide the material. So at some point, I want to sit down with him. So what we could do is any HOA that wants to do that, let's get together at my office, have a meeting, and let's plan it so that we can try to figure out a way to get everyone taken care of. But that's not to take away from the fact that the city is also going to be working those roads.
Does it help though that we were to get more HOAs put together?
Absolutely. At one point in
Combine it
time,
all
and it's
together.
been some years, but Arrowhead used to put a lot of money into their own roads. And I want to say Indian Oaks did as well.
Yeah.
There was a time where they would bring out trucks and they would do their own patching and potholing.
But again, if they're patching and potholing with all the surface water.
Yeah, it's not
then there is
going
waste
to
of money.
matter. Yeah.
All the roads that are in Indian Oaks that have the asphalt on them were paid for by the HOA. And I think the same thing was in Arrowhead at one time. But
Arrowhead's taking care of their roads for years.
Yeah, but last year we
had to start.
I know you did some last year, but I'm talking about the ones that were
in years
initially-
past. Yeah.
Yeah. That were initially done
And
with.
it just sounds like to me that we're redoing roads an awful lot because it's not being done correctly.
Correct.
Right, and we're hoping to change that now. That's why we've changed
Well, I'm
direction.
just saying, if we all get together, we can educate everyone together. And again, because I know they tie, some of the ties, we kind of take advantage of. Maybe while they're doing this, if replacing some of those water lines that are all completely broken up and everything anyway.
Oh, it's a whole separate piece, but I hear you.
But, you know, well, I don't know, because I don't know how much you can segment, but, you know, it's a lot better to do it while the ditches are being exposed anyways, and replacing them than have to come back. and do
I'll
it
throw a
again.
number out to you. This is for Arrowhead. We looked into it at one time. This was years ago. To redo that neighborhood at that time was $1.2 million, $1.4 million. Our city can't even touch
Right.
part of that.
But does it, I'm just saying, and I don't know, but does it make sense to grab that low hanging fruit while you're in there, to at least patch that part? I don't know.
We repair
'Cause that
more
would-
leaks in Arrowhead than any other place in town, and every time we do, we're replacing sticks of pipe, sections of pipe. So if you were to uncover all of it, it looks like, well, like a roller coaster, right? New stick of pipe, dresser, old piece of pipe, new stick of pipe, dresser, you know,
I don't know, I just hoping to,
I hear you.
Guys, I
trying to
appreciate
create some
everybody coming
synergy.
out today. If you got any more questions, get a hold of me. I'm always available. I'm sure most council members and business are, give you the same amount of time. Let us know if we can do anything for you. If you got any other questions.
everyone go to the Hunt County Fair. That's where I'm going now.
Thank everybody for coming out.
Thank you for coming.
Probably one of the nicest days to go.
Yeah, nice and cool.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend, be safe.
We didn't make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, my.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, 2
Yeah,
motions,
I know exactly.
3, 4 motions.
4 motions, 2 seconds.
Yes, sir.
And a third.
Mayor.
Well, thank you.